Oh, I think we're on the air.
Hello,
Hello.
everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another
How,
exciting.
how
Yeah,
do you?
I'm going to tip
How
my hat
do
to you, Dave. Have you ever tipped your hat to a woman?
I probably in a theatrical performance.
Ah, I did it the other day. I was wearing a hat. I wear a hat when I walk, kind of a,
Yeah.
and not just your usual baseball cap. I wear a nice hat. And I went by some ladies and I tipped my hat. Said, "Good morning, ladies." And then they probably thought I was a weirdo, but I
Do
miss
you
the
remember?
old days, Dave.
Yeah, like do you remember when you and Tom Barkalow and I walked out into the restaurant at like the miniature game wargaming Little Wars, I think
Yeah, Little Wars. Yeah,
dinner, and we had my boys with us, Adam and Aaron,
yeah.
and the young ladies came out of the restaurant and they were all like, "Hi, hi, hi," and I was like, "Ooh," and Jeff, you were like, uh, "When they're saying hi now at this stage, guys, it means they see us as grandpas, and it's safe to say hello again, especially
Yes,
with the
they can
kids
flirt
with
with us
us."
now because we're just harmless old men. I got to tell you, Dave, I don't know if we can leave that in the show.
Oh well, what are you gonna decide before I edit? Laura would be okay with it.
These are such crazy days, so we might get, somebody might come out against us, and we'll have to make a statement. We're stepping away from the microphones. For the two half squads have decided to step away from their microphones to
For a week,
contemplate to
right?
contemplate our evils, and
Yes.
we hope to come back
Our
at some point, but we're very, very sorry for all the harm we've caused in the ASL world.
certain news shows, I think it's a week. It's a vacation for a week. But this is the one and only podcast dedicated 80% to the greatest game in the
Yeah.
world,
Let's say
Advanced
100%.
100.
100%. Who's
And
going
I'm
to,
Dave.
what are they going to do? Sue us? You said something that wasn't about squad leader, and we're bringing a class action suit against you.
Yeah, maybe our Patreon supporters might want their money back. But numbers have not changed much. They're pretty consistent right there.
About $10,000
At,
a month, which is
I was
good.
going to say at nowhere near 1,000 people subscribing $1 a show. So, but we get a tad of money, and we thank our Patreon supporters
Yeah, we thank them. Thank
very,
you.
very much.
I'm not going to be retiring. I can't even pay for a burial spot. But anyway, but I'm not begging. Please, please, please become a patron. So how are you, Dave? Well,
So
welcome.
good. You were commenting on, I think, work situations these days
Yeah,
with people not working at the shop.
yeah. I think people are finding out that all of the time, are 20 to 80% of the time they spent in their work day, and I'm using air quotes for work day, actually had nothing to do with work. They were commuting, they were kibitzing, they were going to get coffee, they were talking about stuff not related to work, they were getting ready to go to meetings, they were getting out of meetings, and was not related to work. And people are finding out they can, if they really knuckle down, they can get all their work done in about 30% of the time.
I think there's some truth to that. And I was just talking to a friend who works in one of those government secret things, but he could say that
Like Area
they have
51?
close Area
Oh,
52 right next
okay.
door.
Okay.
He has to check in every 6 minutes and log in what they've done in this special log. And so and they're also offering a 10 hours for 4 days to be done in your 40 hours. That's a common thing, especially at a shop. As I said, back at the shop, because I'm a white blue collar worker, theater, construction, painting houses, and then teaching. I guess that's white collar, but not the office. Classroom never thought of it as an office, right? If I got called to the office, I was usually in trouble and had a parent complain against me, or was caught embezzling all that money from the school.
Lunch money. You were the lunch money embezzler.
He said the same thing you said exactly, and this was just a couple nights ago. He said, yeah, no, he doesn't talk to anyone. Now, he is going into the office, but the whole conversation started with having the login every 6 minutes. He doesn't do the conversations at the water cooler and everything like that. But when he was Zoom working, same thing you're saying. No travel time involved, no one to chit chat with. And at school, the other team I was subbing for end of last school year, middle of last school year, was very social. They would meet, free periods, meet together and sit and grade papers. But half the time, maybe a third, was talking. And I was kind of like, oh, I like to stay alone on my free period and grade more. But they would just take all the work home, do it at home.
Yeah.
I guess because that was their social life more. They really liked each other. They were a really friends group, more so than my team was friends, but we just were older. We had kids. A lot of them did not have kids. So, yeah.
And I've been attending air quotes. Everything's going to be air quotes. You can call this episode air quotes. I've been attending a conference virtually, and I've attended physically in the past 2 or 3 years. I've driven to Cleveland and Indianapolis for this conference, and it's so much better attending virtually. It's all the same stuff, 90% of which is worthless anyway, but we go to this conference for this certain software that we subscribe to, and you okay over there?
Did she come down the steps? She's falling down the stairs?
She's falling down the stairs.
Remember
my wife is falling down the stairs, but I'm podcasting, so figure it out. Anyway, so, there's not the 5-hour drive. There's not the packing. There's no gas expense. You don't have to check into the hotel. You don't have, just all that stuff. Now, I know face-to-face interaction is important for some kinds of business, but for the kind of stuff I do, it's just not necessary. And then I go to these meetings, and I just want to know, how do you get this thing to work with that thing? I don't want to hear all about the history of the world, and actually I do, but they don't talk about the history of the world. They talk about the history of their stupid company. Anyway, it's much better attending virtual.
Well, Laura, I go with Laura to that Christian conference, a lot about counseling and other topics, and I will miss the sightseeing portion, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was in Montgomery. Is that where was the church bombing? And she's making you smile. I'm talking about a serious topic now.
Yeah.
For our listeners, Jeff's distracted. Someone's flashing lights at him. I was going to go put on a light to my face. Did Robin just do that?
No.
His lighting changed.
Did it? Okay.
We all saw it change. I'm going to go plug in my light. But first, so we did. It was Montgomery, right? We did the Martin Luther King Park where they were chased down. The museum is on the corner.
Yeah.
The church, or was it Birmingham? Birmingham. The church was across the street. Just great history there, and missed that. And then the year before that was out by the Naval Maryland. Is there a naval base out there?
In Maryland?
We did the was it Virginia? Virginia, I think. West Virginia.
Boy, we are just we are just brandishing our ignorance with wild abandon.
But I was there. But anyway, I'll miss that. But yeah, the rest of it, I'll miss going out to eat. That was always the good part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but So what
Yeah.
is Robin doing? Just distracted.
She's okay now. She's unpacking the birdseed before the squirrels get to it.
Yeah.
You got to be
So
fast.
what's on the show today, Jeff?
Well, we've got an interview coming up with Mr. Dave Goldman that we've been looking forward to for a while. Yep.
It's all open.
Be sure you don't lift that. Be sure you don't lift that shirt up over your head, Dave. I don't think our listeners are ready for that. I want to see your six-pack. Come on.
Yeah, right. We also have a little bit of terrain time we're going to try and get into.
Terrain time. Great.
And that's it.
And general stuff about ASL. You know, we haven't been playing lately because you did a little traveling. I did a little traveling, went on my yearly fishing trip. We decided to go after all. And as usual, I didn't fish. I just went and read books and stuff like that, which was fun. But we did go on the trip. We decided to risk it. Everybody was being safe. But it's weird, you know, when you pull a fish out of the lake and they're wearing the little masks. It's weird. It's kind of spooky. Kind of spooky.
Well, they have to stay safe also.
They do. Safe fishing at all times. And then you went to Ohio and back?
We did. Cam stayed in the back of the van. Actually, we did. We tried out no seats because we bring the kayaks. We did an inflatable Laura bought to fit, you know. And it fits real well. And so we literally tried out sleeping in the van for 2 nights. That gives us the flexibility to know if we're going camping somewhere and the weather's going to get bad, we're just going to strike the tent, sleep the night in the van at the campsite and not have to worry about taking down a wet tent at some early hour. Or it just gives us that extra flexibility. I think it's a little warmer in there. It does steam up a bit, though.
It's good to know, though, because like if the state of Illinois runs out of money and they can't pay you your pension, you can sleep in a van down by the river.
That too, yes.
Yeah.
People have lived. Well, we shouldn't be joking about that, I suppose.
No, we shouldn't be joking about anything. I read something the other day. We should not be joking about anything at all, ever.
No, not going after.
So it's good to see you, though.
Yeah. Should we jump in? Oh, is Robin saying something?
No, she's nowhere around.
My lighting is improved now.
Yes. You know, it brings out the beautiful tones of your skin.
Mm-hmm. Yours makes you look a bit pale, but
yeah.
How about terrain time?
Okay. Terrain time. Do.
We're going to try these slopes, Jeff. And I know it's helpful when you ask questions to clarify these rules. Don't do it today because I don't get off it.
Oh, okay.
But it's the slope rules. I think they're easier than we think. So I'm going to read this just short here. We got 2 pages of finishing up Onslaught to Orsha 2. Of course, the slope rules came out with the original ASL. And I believe these, I don't even know if these are differently written. Perhaps they're more clear. I don't know. We could compare it as we go, I suppose.
Okay. What rule is that? What chapter and verse?
Slopes. It's slopes. So in the original, I got my little rule book over here on this side. Everything's on chairs. Yeah, slopes. You have a rule book. Not electronic yet, but I heard they're going to come out with an electronic rule book soon for ASL.
Oh, how very modern of them.
And some other stuff. I'm forgetting what's coming out. A couple of packs. Oh, the Swedes should be coming out soon, so I should have sold mine.
The Swedes are coming. My mom would be very happy about that.
Yeah, where are slopes in here? Towers, light nodes. I don't see it. I'm going to hit the index. But the Onslaught to Orsha 2, slopes, slope hexide.
It's in
represents.
P. Doesn't come in until P, according to my rule book.
Yes, that's true. So that came up with what game? Pegasus Bridge?
P was Comp Group
Piper?
Piper. Yeah.
Crude Piper.
And it
There I go. I
also
got
came
it.
out in Q, but you were right. Q also has some slope in it, which is Pegasus Bridge.
Okay. Yeah. So the first
A little
with that
bit.
comp group, do you have that set of rules up
The Conf Group
oh,
Piper, yes.
to the slopes? Elemental
Let's
PQRF.
see.
I'm
Yes.
still checking the mini rule book. The mini rule book. What's this called? The Pocket Edition ASL rule book from Multiman Publishing.
Yeah, slope hex side is in section 2 of the Conf Group Piper rules.
Rule 1.1, a slope hexside is an undulation in the terrain substantial enough to give an upslope unit a line of sight advantage. On the Onslaught to Orsha map, the slope hexside is represented by brown hash marks along the hexside. The entire hexside is marked by a slope, but not the slope artwork itself is considered part of that slope hexside. Does that look familiar over there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Should I share my screen?
Yeah, actually, you could do that, I suppose.
I mean, and this is from the Conf Group Piper.
Yeah, that's where they first showed up. I do believe. Slopes look like that. The little hash marks around the sides.
I
And
see
if
that.
on the side that you are in, it's going up the next hex. So that's going to be your down slope. If
When
it's
when the hash marks are in your hex, you're down.
on the edge, concave away from you, that represents going up a little slope. I think the concave helps make it look obvious symbol. So you're either up slope or down slope.
Okay.
A location can be upslope and downslope across two different slope hex sides in the same hex, two different ones. Now, line of sight, for Onslaught to Orsha, they're saying slopes are neither obstacles nor hindrances. Being upslope only affects line of sight in that you're 3/4 of a level higher than normal to line of sight that begins or ends in that location and crosses an upslope hex side. So to be upslope, you have to be people shooting at you, looking at you through those hash marks makes you upslope, 3/4 of a level higher. So thus, barring other obstructions, you can an upslope unit up 3/4, even if not in a hill crest line hex, can trace line of sight across an upslope hex side of its own hex to lower elevations, even across the hill crest line. So, for example, in the game Mike and I are playing, there's a hill crest and I pulled up a tank in that crest. I tried to make hull down die roll. And right, the next hex behind it has a slope going up. So we realized I could pull a second tank up on that 3/4 level and have both tanks firing at the same target, because being upslope allows you to see over other crest lines and of course over walls, hedges, and anything else like that.
Boy, it seems unnecessary, doesn't it? Kind of.
That's always been, I gotta admit, I always think that when I'm gaming with them, but it does change things. And you're only finding these in your historical boards, to my knowledge.
They're not on any of the geomorphic boards.
No,
yeah.
Not to my knowledge. So they're done for historical reasons. They found when they made Comp Group Piper, M&P discovered they could, from certain hexes, you could see over walls and hedges, but you didn't gain all the benefits of up a hill crest at all. Literally, the ground is kind of sloping up. So so to make it more historical, it's what they've done there. We did post a guide on the last show or the show before that mentioned Jeff, you found a I think it was a slope tutorial thingy, and then there's a guide in Onslaught to Orsha. because Stu had a question about it and I couldn't answer that, actually. I think he found a mistake in it, but so
we'll have to get Rich Spilkey on this right away.
Yes. Yeah. Did he make any slope charts?
I actually don't remember him doing one. I know there is a slope player aid chart kind of thing that you can get. I think you can get it on Mr. Pitkavich's website.
Yeah, maybe that's the one that you linked on the last show. Well, two shows ago, because we didn't.
Yeah.
5 yet. Okay. So otherwise, being upslope or downslope itself has no effect on line of sight. Slopes are ignored if the line of sight goes through their hex or along the hex side. So then you got to kind of pretend they're not there unless you're up on the edge of that slope. Now you see above, higher, or you're tucked inside, which gives you a TEM, protective TEM. Probably what's best to is just look at the examples that are listed to really get the idea. It's one of those rules you really got to kind of just look at the examples given in Conf Group and in Onslaught to Orsha, and comes with Objective Schmidt and so on. Fire lane for at the end of this letter, being upslope itself does not give height advantage, nor can you make a hold down attempt. So it is not a crest line. And that's
okay.
It's more like
not a crest line.
Slope at an angle instead of a up a cliffy kind of hill and then over. So no height advantage, no hold down attempts. Presence of greater than or equal to 1 slope hex side does not change the elevation of the base hex level. So, and then for fire lane, 1.31, for purposes of fire lane, the line of sight or line of fire drawn across greater than or equal to 1 slope hex side, assume that the term same level means same base level. So ground level, like if it's on the green grass part of the board. No. Okay. Cover can give you +1 protection, TEM. You need to be in a hex containing 3 or 2 non-contiguous downslope hex sides. So you're down in this like a little valley thing, and I can show it again here on this example from Onslaught to Orsha. Do I have that right by my finger? This guy is tucked in 2, 3 down slopes around him, left, front, and on his right hex side. Then people firing at him, he can claim the +1, and he can claim it. Now, I cannot claim it to fire that doesn't come through those slopes. Kind of logical. If you're shooting through this area where there's no 3/4 rise, you don't get the plus. And you don't get it if someone's adjacent to you, just like you can look down into a gully when you're adjacent, right? Or from someone in a building at a higher level. All that applies like normal also. Yeah. So being upslope itself provides no TEM, does not negate first fire, movement, open ground, or non-assault, and does not affect wall advantage rules. So it's really just when you're tucked in between 3 that you can claim this. Or it said 2 non-contiguous. So I guess 1 in front of you, 1 behind you. Again, you might get the idea that you're down in between them.
Yeah.
It's probably helpful.
I'm nodding my head and saying, yeah.
Well, but you can imagine, right? If there's 1 behind you and in front of you, it's kind of like tucked into 2 downslope areas, like a little valley between the higher slopes. Fire lane is real tricky. I would just say go ahead and read it yourself. Because verbally explaining it, you just need the pictures and the graphics. And then it's almost done here. The entry going across a slope that is down slope would be no extra cost. A unit crossing a slope hex side that is upslope is, or no, they're just explaining, the cost for going upslope. Infantry is a half a movement factor plus cost of terrain in order to move upslope. and crossing a slope hex side while moving on a road does not negate the B 3.4 movement factor road bonus. So you still get that. So it's half a movement factor for infantry, which I think Mike and I were forgetting in our last game. I know with tanks, we were skillfully going around, weaving around through those, not avoiding going upslope. For a vehicle, it's only one extra movement point to go upslope. So one movement point plus cost of terrain. Crest line slope, no vehicle may cross a combination of a crest line and a slope, which would make it like a level plus 3/4. So you got to be aware of that. You got to go around that. And then lastly, when crossing a slope hex side with rain or ground snow, extra movement costs apply just as if the moving unit is changing elevation. So I think whatever the normal rule is for rain or ground snow going up slope, you're going to have to add it too. So you're going to want to avoid that also. Yeah.
Okay.
Then the only other thing we got on terrain for Onslaught to Orsha is the combination hexes and culvert and a machine gun cupola.
Oh yeah.
So orchard shell holes is pretty easy and logical. Orchard shell holes are always considered to be out of season and are represented by the 4 brown leafless depictions. So you can see by the board an Onslaught to Orsha that it's out of season. This also applies to orchard hexes in which shell holes are placed during play. Infantry not moving into shell holes pay 2 movement factors, while infantry using the shell holes pay 3. So again, like going into it, all tracked pay an extra 3 movement points to enter, and other vehicles pay 6 movement points. It's not in addition, that's total. So
okay.
Bumpy. And then I don't know what the normal is for shell holes. Is that the same? Do you have a
let me see if I can find a shell hole.
Take a look.
1 second.
And then it is a bog check for Onslaught to Orsha when entering an orchard shell hole hex. Non-track vehicles incur an additional +2 to the bog check die roll. So it's a thing to avoid with armored cars and trucks.
So infantry normally will enter a shell hole with a cost of 1 or 2.
If they use it or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let's see. Cavalry horse-drawn vehicles must enter at the 2 movement factor.
So these are more expensive. It's 2 for infantry and then 3 if you use the shell hole. So
and
I wonder why that is.
I don't see anything for vehicles here. Where's my vehicles?
There's a footnote, and we could check that. Maybe they were more severe kind of shell. There's a grain road terrain depicted. It's going to be very simple.
Oh, grain road. Okay.
It's just a grain field with a road going through, So it's identical to a regular road. Hindrance rules do not apply, of course, if you're shooting with that portion of the line of sight from the firer to the target within those hexes never leaves the road, like shooting in the woods if you shoot down the road, right? So that's all pretty normal. The culvert that originally came out in a multi-man publishing game, was it Red Barricades where the culvert first appeared?
Let me see if I can look it up.
Yeah, you can check. Going into a culvert is like going into a gully, but you can do so only from in the kind of capital I-N, an adjacent gully or culvert location. So obviously you have to drop down into the depression
Yeah,
going into
to
the
go through.
culvert. Yeah. No vehicle, cav, motorcycles mounted may enter into a culvert. Cycles can only be portaged into it, and then infantry and AT guns that are small may set up and be manhandled into a culvert, and mortars too.
And you were right, it did come out in red barricades.
Ooh, wow. I'm on fire.
Let me just triple check that. Is that right? Culvert. And it's also, I think there's a stream culvert in Conf Group Piper.
Oh, okay. Then that's probably more where it came from.
Yeah.
These culverts look like they're dry on the map in Onslaught to Orsha. Can you fire a mortar from in a culvert, Jeff?
I wouldn't think so.
You may not. Nor does indirect fire affect units in one. And crest status may not be granted in a culvert, nor may it be gained along a gully culvert hex side. So you can't like hang on the concrete or metal edge of the culvert and look up over and try to use it as a crest status.
Yeah, it is red barricade. It's definitely red barricades. It's section 7 of the red barricade rules.
Okay. Can a unit in a culvert be considered a target versus snipers?
Oh, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
I think there's too much cover there.
That's correct. Can you put up mines in a culvert? Anti-personnel.
I think an anti-personnel mine may be, yes. But it can't be set up hip.
No, you can't dig them into the ground. Exactly right. And same thing for the AT mines, and then no other fortification can be set up in one. And the last terrain along Onslaught to Orsha is the machine gun cupolas.
The cupola.
And I didn't reread D9.5 or 0.7, which must have talked about them. There's a footnote too for these also in Onslaught. But they represent specially constructed fortifications. Treat them as those other rules, except as mentioned here. So a machine gun cupola destroyed by any means does not burn. It has an inherent 228 crew, which may not abandon it for any reason, even if the gun malfunctions. There is no crew survival from that thing. It can be set up hidden initial placement if allowed by SBR. Let's see, special scenario rule, special
SBR?
I think that's what they use for Onslaught, for the MMP, or I'm sorry, the bounding fire productions, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Special bounding rules. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. Or if purchased by FPP, which is for the campaign games. They cannot be scrounged, nor do they leave wrecks. They are considered hull down and a small target. So +1 to shoot. Armor factor of 5. It is on the counters. So when you break out your counters for these, you get these really cool colored counters with the armor factor on them for the armored cupolas in this game. These are in German color, so I don't know if there are any in the Russian color.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Why would they be considered hull down if they have no hull? What is the purpose? I mean, it just means there's no, if you fire on it, there's no hull hit on it.
You could almost imagine the shot will hit the ground around it. But it takes away half the time you'll hit.
Yeah.
It seems appropriate, right? Instead of hitting this larger tank, you're just trying to hit that little thing in the ground.
Target. Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Just it takes away half of the. I guess they could have just said it's +5 to hit or something. I don't know what effect that would have had.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
That's a question for Rich Spilkey. Does a +5 suddenly become outrageous, or, well, when normally after our tanks move and we have the +2 for fire after moving and the +1 buttoned up, and it could be a +5 often, and it's hard to hit. We always assume we won't.
Yeah.
So, and then these things, there's no penalty for being buttoned up, and the machine gun is used in close combat as if it's were an armor fighting vehicle, CMG. Okay, and it can malfunction and repair normally, but is never permanently disabled by a repair attempt. That's nice.
Yeah, really. For
Or
somebody like me.
Yeah. So you could do a lot of sustained fire and not permanently disable it. Of course, it'll still break, and you still have to roll or whatever. It says a 2 on the counter right here we just looked at. Yep, the repair number's on the back. Some of these have medium machine guns, and some of these have heavy machine guns in the normal German.
Move over a little more.
Yeah,
There
normal German machine guns, breakdown numbers, etc., etc., etc. Why don't I just quickly counter battery modules available by the special rule or purchase, refit, purchase. This type of module does not have plentiful or scarce ammo types, nor must it ever make an access draw. It never places FFE or affects onboard or aerial units. Instead, its attack is used to affect the opponent's OBA capabilities. Yeah, and we looked at the chart before on the other show, where a final die roll would lower the enemy OBA caliber of the guns to be less effective. Different roll adds a red card to the enemy OBA module, more chance of it running out, etc., etc. So, and there's a chance your counter battery module itself would be eliminated on a die roll of 12. So that sounded really cool. So, CBM, it does not make an attack until the opposing side has placed an FFE, and then once they've placed it, you can use it to attack as your first prep fire phase activity. So just like a regular OBA, it just fires first. Can't be done in the defensive fire phase, and as long as it remains, you may continue to make an attack in each prep fire phase. Yep.
Sweet.
And that's it. Onslaught to Arsha, totally done. We haven't done an in-depth look at the scenarios, but that would be a whole different project.
Yeah.
We have one more thing, I believe, to add in here today.
Which is David Goldman. Let's go to that interview right now.
Great.
We have a very special guest now. We have it says here, avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. And if you want to, really avoid a legal snag, be careful when you're around Dave Goldman, who is our expert.
That's, understandable, but the other snags I get, in my sleeve as I'm brushing against something, it's just terrible.
Can't help you with that. Sorry.
For me, it's walking through the woods and then the low-hanging branches.
Yeah, well, I have the same problem. I'm not wearing some kind of head covering. It immediately scratches the shiny spot on the top of my head.
Are you wearing a beard, Dave?
Very light beard.
Oh.
I keep it trimmed very, very close, and I've been that way for a long, long time. When you used to go to the barber, I would use a number 2 blade on the beard, or I should say, I would have the barber use it.
That's pretty short. I just had a 1 done on the hair today.
Yeah.
So.
I'm taking notes here. Let's see, number 2 blade.
Well, since we can't do a lot of face-to-face ASL, you have to talk about important, grooming aspects, so that when you're on Skype, because of course you have to look good for the camera.
That's so true. How are you getting on? We haven't talked to you since this whole COVID thing started. How are you getting on and throughout this thing?
Quite well, quite frankly. I had gone to a remote office in last November. So workflow didn't change.
Oh. Yeah, even earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And business is down, of course, but not terribly so. Aside from the fact that there's no face-to-face ASL, you don't go out to dinner very much. You go for walks with your wife, except when she's mad at you. In which case you get to leave the house alone. So there's not, and we don't go to the movies anymore, and we don't watch that much TV to begin with. So it's life is
definitely going to have a gaping hole in your otherwise busy opera season.
Gaping hole, I think, doesn't even begin to describe it.
Yeah, which is really.
Opera, symphony, jazz clubs. At least jazz clubs are sort of open now. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but we had gone to a porch concert earlier this evening from 6:30 to 7:30. And we're all staying up late to do this now because it's well past our bedtimes.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 o'clock runs around, the warm milk and it's off the bed, right?
Yeah, it's true. That is so true.
Oh,
well, I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah, it's thank goodness this happened during these times when we've got all these wonderful technologies.
Oh yeah,
that keep us together. And bravo for whoever came up with the internet. That was Al Gore, I think. He did a great job in building an infrastructure that could take the weight of everybody jumping online.
Yep.
And it's worked out well.
I had never played VASL
Yeah.
till the end of March of this year.
Yeah.
I've now played, I think, in 4 different tournaments, and and I've played. A regular opponent is Rich Domovic, and so we played. It averages out every other week because we both have complicated schedules, even in the time of COVID.
Yeah.
But that's been the savior of ASL, and it's going to probably change. COVID is going to change, I think, a lot of the tournament scene.
I think so, and so which we'll get to shortly. But how are you liking Vassal as a way to play?
I like it. I would prefer to play face to face. I think there's just a little more interaction, and it's a little more fun to see those dice roll in the cup and move the cardboard guys around. But it's very close to the same experience. And I think any experienced ASL player, the adjustment, even if you're not a computer literate kind of person, isn't all that tough. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
No, clicking here, clicking there. Yeah, obviously Jeff and I have been doing a lot of it. And you may recall what I always liked when we'd come to the ASL Open, that we would you were trying to record there or just play like 1 or 2 games and not get all overly into it. But going to lunch for me was the highlight, and that's not been the same.
Going past the refrigerator, and just saying, where's the server? And what kind of wine are they serving today?
Yeah.
It's just the same.
Yep, I miss sitting around that table with like 6 ASL guys talking about the adventures they're having today in the tournament, and then table away from you, you're hearing someone else saying like, and then I recovered the flamethrower, and then, and the people around them are looking at them funny.
That's pretty much the experience that we all would like to have going again.
So, and Dave and I have played against each other and against 1 or 2 other opponents, just on a one-on-one. What's an ASL tournament like over Vassal? How does that work?
There's a number of different tournament formats. I just did one that participated in one, I should say, that Greg Barsness was running. He's out in Washington State. And they did it, I'm not sure what the initial seeding was right, but it was winners pretty much against winners. And it was, as I ran the Open, the same kind of format, which was a scenario a week. So we had plenty of time, and that tournament only had 18 people. And I believe, I may be wrong, that I was the most distant. It was basically a West Coast personnel competing.
Was that like the West Coast Melee or some of the?
No,
just a new thing.
No, they've been running a tournament for a while, but it's mostly local out there.
Okay.
It's Melee, of course, is Southern California.
Oh, that's right. Of course, yes, of course.
And it's I have been to it. And it's a wonderful tournament to go to, but it's a distance, but it's at the right time of year because I believe they had do the first week in February or the last week in January, something like that. And that's a fun tournament. They have a nice facility, the one that I was at, and I think they're still at the same place near the airport, so it's very convenient, near John Wayne Airport, if I remember correctly. I run the Open as a week, a scenario, and I have switched, as I did even when it was face-to-face, to what I would say larger scenarios, not big monster scenarios, but things that clearly are going to take 5 or more hours is my target for most of them. I put a small scenario in many rounds so that somebody who really isn't interested in that particular scenario list can, get something done quickly. But for tournament play, my theory at this point is that most people appreciate scenarios that have a little more meat to them, so that three bad rolls of the dice isn't going to decide the game.
Right.
There's still a chance to come back. May not be a good chance, but at least there's a chance to come back. And there's slightly more complicated orders of battle and special rules and so on. And it says, bit of fuzzy sound on yours, Dave.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to send that to Jeff. I don't know if we're getting that fuzz from anything you can control, Jeff, but now you'll have to edit this out.
When I was growing up, the fuzz is something that everybody just took off. You went to the nearest alley and hid. It's the fuzz!
If you remember the movie The Fuzz, that goes back to the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, but also then, without revealing the winner, I suppose, Dave, do you think having those larger games where the die rolls were less effective necessarily, do you think it changed who played better in any way, or?
No.
Okay.
I seed the ASL Open. If I know the players,
oh yeah,
I know that they are, how should I say it, the more competitive and more likely to win games, they get higher seeds. New players I put in the middle somewhere, unless they say, hey, I'm brand new, because you don't want the whole point of the open seeding theory is that you're always playing people who are playing at your level and winning or losing, as the case may be, at your level in the tournament once it starts. And it seems to work out. I have had, I think in the last 6 or 8 years, one complaint about somebody who said he didn't like his initial seeding. And that's because I think also the tournament scene has changed so much that people are coming to the tournaments because they want to be face-to-face with a bunch of people playing ASL, and they want to compete. But it is not like in, I would say, 20 years ago, where the face-to-face tournaments, people were really invested in winning, much more so than they are now. Of course, the average ASL player is a lot older now than he was 20 years ago.
A little more mellow.
Not 20 years, generally speaking.
Yeah. So then how many guys did you get signed up in this new format?
I think we have about 40.
Mm.
It was in the high 30s. I take that back.
Yeah, it was.
And my hope is, if we have to do it virtual next year, which I suspect is going to be the case, that I asked people to talk it up, because I had compliments that they liked the idea of a week scenario a week. They liked the idea of the larger scenarios. I changed the scenario list by cutting it down. In the face-to-face tournament, I had lots of extra scenarios that a person could choose from. The opponent. Whereas now, I just put 4 scenarios in each round, so that's 24 scenarios I have to find. And then I said, but I don't care. If the two of you agree, you can play any scenario you want.
Oh, okay.
Difference to me, because I realized that the scoring program in the computer that is now like 20 years old, and one of these days is going to crap out on me, then I'm going to be in big trouble because the program is written for Microsoft Access, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. Does it or not?
I still use it. Yes, it does. But anyway,
support for it is hard to find.
I want you to take a look at this program and recreate it. I need someone to recreate it so it'll run on a more modern, methodology.
Yeah, send me the MDB. I'll take a look at it.
Oh, look at that.
I do a lot of Access development.
I could also take a look at it for you, Dave, but it'd just be me staring at it for really long hours with nothing changing or happening.
You never know.
Yeah.
That might be useful.
If you have superpowers and can duplicate it to make it run on another computer, that'll work.
Yeah, with the technology, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I did have a friend that was unemployed for quite a while, and suddenly a company was a startup, or they found him, and they used whatever it was that he was one of the real good people at that program or that language or whatever, and whatever it was, he knew how to do the stuff, and he finally got a job. But new companies aren't using that older kind of thing. But anyway,
did you buy Apple stock and did you buy Tesla stock today? I mean, come on.
They split the stock, didn't they?
That's right. 5 for 1, I think they both were.
Oh, unbelievable. If only I had $1 million, I could turn that into like $1,005,000.
So if I had $1 million, I could turn it into 50 cents real quick.
Yeah, I could too. That's my problem. That is definitely it.
I'm still hoping to inherit maybe $1 million if I kill my brother and sister.
Yeah. And get away with it.
To avoid litigation, tell people that you are being recorded.
It's just a joke, and it won't even be $1 million anyway. But so the tournament. So did people have? You said they had a week, and then they just submitted their results, and then you redid things, and then went again.
And then I send out the matchups for the next round. The structure of the tournament, although slightly different as far as scenario selection and what you could do, and the timing, of course, is completely different because it's not compressed over Thursday through Sunday, is exactly the same, using the same scoring program. 10 points for a win, 1 point for each subsequent win or prior win of an opponent that you defeat. And it came out very nicely. And it's been running the program for now, I think, close to 20 years. And I'm going to take you up on it, Jeff.
Yeah, good.
And
good. Because if it were to crash in the middle of a tournament, it would be close to difficult, if not impossible, for me to actually hand score it if I have 40 people.
Right. Oh yeah, that would be tough.
Well, I just thought of something too. The last time I was at the tournament a couple of years ago, I had just sat down to play a game, my first game, when my dad passed away. Oh no, I'm gonna.
That's right.
Okay. I haven't cried in a year. But boy, that brings it back. And I just sat down and got the phone call, and I had to come up to you, Dave, and say, my dad is well, he hadn't died then, but was going to pass soon, and he sure did. Well, that's a horrible example, I guess. So if I had a different problem on a certain day, oh my gosh, I have to go home and fix this technical thing, or my electricity's out, it wouldn't throw off the tournament at all. Whereas that time I had to leave and I couldn't come back for several days, and then the tournament's over.
Right. Well, there is one catch that it happens face to face, but it's a lot simpler. Somebody doesn't show up.
Did that happen also?
Well, it happened once or twice. And and it's somebody that I know, I get on the phone, I call to make sure if I can get a hold of them. But every once in a while, somebody just disappears. Then I have to scramble, and either I inject myself into the tournament because I'm always the odd man out,
Right.
or I switch around things and everything. And that also happened when I ran the Open this year. I had a couple of people who just said, my schedule just went to hell, and they forfeited their match because they had scheduled it for later in the week, and then work or other life.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well,
things happen, and I had anticipated that. So I had a very tough forfeiture rule, which is
decapitation.
Yeah, I was just trying to come up with something appropriate.
We weren't quite that extreme. We did have a firing squad ready, but we weren't quite that extreme. Which was, if you can't agree on a time to play.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right, I guess.
You have to be starting 9 o'clock Central Daylight Time on Saturday.
The weekend,
I didn't say you could play on Sunday because the results are due Monday morning, but that's the default time, which hurts people. We had one player from overseas playing, and that's always very tricky.
Time zone, sure, right.
Actually, we had two players from overseas.
Yeah, because when they come here, they're on the same time zone.
That's right. Well, they're jet lag, but that's
that's good for the American players.
Yeah.
But that's the problem at ACELOC with USA versus the world. USA is quite frankly not done very well in that mini tournament.
I've actually heard that with football, that teams who travel like from Chicago to the West Coast, somehow that extra couple hour thing, I find it harder to believe. But anyway, sorry, Dave, go on.
Yeah. But but these things happen that you do have to roll with the punches and get people on the same page. But if not, I had to call one forfeiture where the two guys actually got mad at each other because apparently one said this time, the other guys emailed back and said that time, and they kept on going back and forth, and then they got mad at each other.
Oh.
and we're not playing. So.
Yeah, that's true. We've got different work schedules and things like that. Is kind of true, even with a longer, spread out time.
These things happen.
Interesting. So then you only lost a few players, maybe this year.
I didn't lose players because both those guys continued on in the tournament. It was just a scheduling problem that week for one of them, and then the communication broke down between them.
Oh, good. I could probably volunteer myself to be a on-call player next year if, let's hope not, I'd rather be showing up in person, doing some interviews, having a nice lunch. But anyway, feel free to ask if you need someone.
Sure. Well, the other part about it is, I'm hoping that the venue, which is a Holiday Inn, the most important part about that Holiday Inn was, I assume it's some kind of arrangement. Bar Louie was their restaurant and their service, and it was, it's not, I'm not saying that Bar Louie is fine dining, but it was very convenient. And it had the right kind of, how shall I say it, ambiance for the ASL tournament. But Bar Louie, like all restaurant chains, is taking a big hit. The one that's 4 blocks from my house is gone.
Oh, right. And thought of that too, right?
Yeah.
I'll be driving to McDonald's and coming back and eating sack lunches or something.
Mariano's is across the expressway, and they have every kind of food imaginable. It's a giant grocery chain.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
And but hopefully, as I said, I'm anticipating it'll probably be via internet this coming 2021, but hopefully by 2022 we'll all be back face to face.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably the best benefit of this whole thing for an ASL tournament or any kind of gaming convention is the lack of body odor when you're playing your opponent.
Well, yeah. And if you really don't like the looks, you can just turn off the video.
Or if and then Bob Bendis, his dog, would only be in the background, not on the chair next to him.
Yeah, no, that dog is a trooper.
It is, and Bob, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he knows it. I'm his biggest fan, actually. Remember that story where I met him at Street Fest, and he ended up knowing my sister's friend, and they like, you know each other? I'm like, this guy's my idol. For real,
Yeah,
you know.
You love his counter storage system.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah,
It's
legendary.
Loose
I think
box
so.
top.
I'm not sure. It's amazing. Having played him, having to sort through his pile of counters that he has back then, a bag. It didn't take that long. That was amazing.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, I forget I think the Steel-Eyed Boys, I think was the scenario, and the Brits had a bunch of Comet tanks, and we found them all without too much trouble.
Amazing. That is amazing.
Wow. Well, what other tournaments did you play in? You said a lot. I couldn't believe that.
Well, I played with the guys out of Washington, D.C., and I played with the Canadians, Caslow, and I played out west, and so that's 3. And what else did I do? I'm not sure that I did another one, but I was also in and out of the Open. So that's 4 tournaments while I was running the Open.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, in a short amount of time, especially considering I didn't play Vasil until the end of March. I'd never even looked at it, quite frankly.
Yeah, and again, Jeff and I, people mocked us for doing an ASL podcast for 12 years, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, oh yeah, we're going to check out Vasil someday.
Well, and I tried to one time. Ken Knott tried to get me trained in it, and I just could not do it. I don't know why. And I'm computer adept. At least I'm more adept than my clients that pay me. So, but yeah, I just could not wrap my head around it. But now that we've got it going, yeah, it's definitely. I love the fact that there are no counters. I love that. I just dig it because digging counters out.
He hated it.
Yeah, I hated that.
I've never told Jeff this, so I hope it doesn't end our friendship. But
I'm using it carefully to watch the expression on his face.
He would come to my house to play, and I would be all ready to have the defense all set up, right, and everything, and like, all right, let's play. And then I'd go to his house to play, and I'm like, oh, do you have the counters and stuff?
Yeah, they're over there. Oh yeah.
And then I'd come back to record a month later, and the same game is sitting out. Oh, you didn't put that away yet?
Yeah, I haven't put it away yet.
Whereas I try and, unless I want to sit and analyze it on the board after my friends leave, or the next day, which sometimes I would do. I'll be like, oh, look at this,
Yeah.
I try and strike the set right away. Like a theater, like after the last performance, everyone has to stay and start striking the set, put all those counters away. So yeah, he does love it, not having them. And to be honest, it's kind of nice in a way. I know, Dave, you mentioned you like the counters. I do too, but
my preference is face to face.
I'm switching. Yeah. No, you're right. And I hope people in my game groups, even like D&D, my friend Rick just said the other day, this week, well, this Zoom is working out so well for D&D, I'm pretty sure we won't have to drive to your house in the winter. And I'm like, no, you still have to drive to my house, and I get to wave goodbye as you go out in the cold. Because I would hate to not, maybe if it's a winter night, but golly, it's summer, spring and fall, you better be getting your rear end here in person, So yeah, I hope that doesn't take that part away. And I'm willing, Jeff, to set up everything. I'll even come to your house, set up the game.
Okay.
Go back home.
Now you're talking. That's great.
But it's
people will come back to your house, Dave. They want to be close to your refrigerator full of joyful beverages.
Soda of any kind.
Yeah.
And of course, a room full of miniatures, which I won't try to show by turning my computer.
No.
So have you done any ASL projects? Now that we're somewhat reduced in where we can go to and what we can do. Did you sort your counters? Did you buy a new storage system?
Well, you haven't been listening or following our Twitter feed much, have you?
No, I'm afraid I've been remiss in that respect.
That's okay. But I have done. How many was it? 31, Jeff, or 37?
Was it that many?
It's over 30.
Yeah.
Of these new reduced size, and most of these are the broken ground design counters. So we ended up got a lot of those, and so this is the duplicate set. We had a duplicate set previously from a listener, and then I moved all those out and shortened down all of these trays. So now even all the Korea stuff is all up there in like 6 different trays up there, and every nationality, even got the original Free French from Broken Ground Design, not from Quad de Guerre, which we just learned were in there. That was a pretty huge project. Yeah, labels, everything.
What I did. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
what did you do?
Go ahead, yeah.
I have a hose-on system, and those hard plastic cases that have the multi
little tricks. Yeah, right.
And it's hard plastic, and the dividers that you put in have a flat lip, and I didn't realize it, but somebody had actually posted to Game Squad forums the labels. If you print it on a sheet of one big label sheet, in the colors 838, 338, and so on and so forth, and all the guns and all the vehicles, and I can't remember, he didn't make it through Quad de Guerre, but he had the French from the original French module and everything. And so I printed all those out on label paper and then started cutting and putting them down on everything. And so now I have this beautiful, system, all labeled up nice, and nothing to use my counters for because there's no face-to-face.
That was kind of my thought too. It's like, oh, I got all these great counters to show people and everything. No, it's true, Jeff. I'm anxious to show all these Broken Ground Design counters. I'm like, yeah, let's try using these. And I got, I got all these unique nationalities too that only he put out. So it is a little bit sad, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Have you bought anything lately, David Goldman?
Yeah, yes. I haven't really touched it, but I bought the Italian stuff.
Yeah.
And I also bought Quad de Guerre. I decided that even though I have the LFT Rat Pocket Chart 3rd edition, which I think is a fabulous product, I had the 2nd edition, and they updated it, and it's well worthwhile. I think it's probably one of the most useful tools to play ASL. Quite frankly, it sits underneath my computer when I'm playing Vassal because it's the quickest way.
Yeah,
It's really a fine product. In fact, if I were to travel to a tournament and not be bringing my whole kit, which nowadays I think is, it's just insane, the amount of space that it takes up. And here's edition number 3.
Yep, we are going to actually cover edition number 3, I think, later in this episode. As soon as we're done with you, Dave, we're going to finish up looking at Quad de Guerre, which we also had received courtesy of, or did I buy this one myself? But it might have been Derek Ritter at ritterkrieg.com, who has given us several stuff. And I am really happy to say the guys at Advancing Fire in Italy,
right.
Advancing Fire, did send us some copies of their work. We helped them with the shipping, but we have both packets to start to look at, and we're hoping Mike Rizzi is going to be our expert because he's going to dig into it, find the differences in the system, and we're hoping to present that on the air real soon also. Yeah, good choices. And that third, all the LFT charts are just so handy to be flipping through. And they fit really well right beneath the computer, like you said.
Absolutely.
I keep mine right here, and the little mini rule book right over here. And Jeff does a lot of the digital charts, but now he has the second edition plus.
I've never had this before, so I'm looking forward to using it.
Yeah, and then third is good too, but third has like Korea and stuff that you wouldn't need, but you might be missing something else that's nice. But anyway.
Yeah, it's really a fine product. I'm looking forward to the publication of the mini chapter H, which that is going to be very, very useful.
Wait, isn't that already in the ASL book? You mean the little
chapter H? No, the chapter H is not. With all the
with all the vehicle notes and everything.
Duh. I was thinking desert. Sorry, F.
That's F.
Yeah.
And
H. Yeah, I would like an H too. I still have to get up and go over to the shelf.
Yeah.
Whip out this 3-ring binder.
That's right.
It doesn't fit well here. You know, I go fit it on the dryer.
None of my clothes fit well. Have you gained weight during COVID?
I have lost some weight during COVID. But yeah, I try and lay it out on my mini fridge and just run over there, flip through, run back to my opponent and say, oh, it looks like the footnote says this. Yeah, that would be good to have. That would be good.
There's also buzz that there's going to be an electronic rule book, which I'll be very curious to see, what they do, because if they have one that has links, to the other link,
that would be amazing.
That'll sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Right? Sure.
Yeah.
And then updating rules will become a lot simpler.
Oh, right.
Everything will be up to date. If you have the electronic rule book.
Well, should we jump? Sorry, go ahead.
They may go like Apple, and you'll have to pay monthly for it.
Probably.
And I suspect many people will.
I think they will. Yeah, definitely.
Who knows? I mean, I've just seen a little bit of that online.
Yeah.
Squad.
Dave, let's jump back to the tournament. So, who were the winners this year?
I've already forgotten.
Sorry to catch you up. Well,
hang on a second, but I can look it up.
Look it up, because when you run a tournament for what, 10 years you've been doing this?
No, I'm 20 years now.
Is it 20?
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
It is, isn't it?
Let's see.
My first one with old, what's his name? He sat at a round table with us, Louis
Tokars.
My first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was such a naive young lad walking in there, knowing nobody. Literally nobody. Talk about intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because all I did was play with Wally, and Wally didn't go. And then I was teaching the next guy, and I thought, I'm just going to go.
It's like the time I walked into your basement, Dave.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Had never played before, didn't know anything about it. Just somebody said, oh, you should check it out.
Yeah. At that first tournament I played, the really nice guy from New York, Randy Yates, who we saw his name on some scenarios or something, Jeff. I'm like, hey, I played this guy back in 91 or whatever.
Mm.
Did you find it, Dave?
Hang on. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll keep reminiscing.
Go reminisce away.
We need a drum roll, a very long drum roll.
Very long.
Can you hear that?
Yes, I can. Yes, that is excellent. You missed your calling.
Shoot, whose name am I not coming up with? He lives in New York. We interviewed him for the show. Greatest guy. It's all kinds of work. Recall issues.
Why did they do the tournament over 2 days or 3 days, like they do in real life.
Why not on digital?
Yeah, why not? When they do these
Oh,
online tournaments.
yeah, Dave, were any of the other ones a lot shorter?
Oh yes,
Okay.
the one that I just competed in out of let's see, it was a weekend, and it was just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, it was. Okay.
So yeah, but for online that works because everybody makes the commitment to do it as if it were.
Yes. I'm wondering if at some point, ASL Open maybe in 2022, some people will be live and some people will be virtual.
I have thought about how to do that.
Yeah. How do you match up?
And I'm not sure that it really will work.
So you'll discriminate.
Well, what if you're always going to force the other guy to come to your type of play, right? I mean, I'm live, and then Dave lines me up with a guy who's virtual. I have to go to a computer screen.
Yeah, right.
And although I guess I could have one in the room if you got enough bandwidth, right?
You could. Yeah, you could. It's conceivable.
It's possible, but you would need a lot more, I would say, firepower to get that done.
Yeah.
It's be too much.
More than most hotels usually will offer.
Yeah. You need a lot of power in the room, quite frankly.
Yeah. Dave,
so talk amongst your. See, the problem is that the computer I'm on is not the computer that the Open is normally on.
We'll just edit that out, unless Jeff, you want to do some quad de guerre. I missed a board. Is that okay to put that in?
Which board? Yeah, just
42.
Oh, okay.
Quad de guerre double, and I just fought over this one with Dave Timonen. I remember coming along this. All right, and no, actually, I played this a lot too. So many times it's got all the scattered little villages, a lot of hedgerows, but this woods along this side. So a lot of times this woods is kind of like an area that the enemy is in. So board 42 also. So it's 2 boards in quad de guerre. Dave, do you remember how many original boards were in quad de guerre? I don't. Otherwise, I see the Dinant boards, Jeff, which, again, you showed them in the mini.
Yes.
They come folded up, like about pretty small to fit into a box. Looks like there's 2?
2 of them, okay.
Looks like 2. It's spread out. Then it would be
beautiful. Are those regular size hexes?
Jeff, now that we... Oh, man. Here. It looks normal.
Okay. Just from they look historical size when you hold it up like that.
It is slightly
bigger.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So that could kind of be the normal historical size, which is
Yeah. Nice.
Wonderful. But the artwork is really the woods. I don't know if that captures the woods we didn't get to see in the version you were. No, you can't quite, right?
Yeah, not
capture the beauty
high
of
def.
The artwork on this is just gorgeous. Again, a lot of the newer stuff is. You do get a new
charts.
Nationality and the
OBA flow chart. A big fan.
I don't know if anything's changed on the back of this nationality chart, but
I'm looking forward in our next game. We're going to be playing some OBA. I'm going to try the OBA flow that comes in with Vassal.
Oh yeah,
That should be interesting.
Oh, with Vassal, yeah, I think Dave and I did that once.
Yeah, it just walks you through how far.
Mike and I, but Mike and I now just fall back to the charts.
Oh, do you?
Flow chart. Now maybe he'd like me to try it again. or maybe you'll find it to work a little better. And on the back of the mini map, you have the campaign game fourth organizer, of course,
okay. Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For the campaign game.
That's where I would put it.
But not rules. I will take a look at later. And these rules. Dave, did you find it?
I sure did.
Let's jump back in.
Okay, so here's the 2020 EASL Open final standings, and a very interesting final round because the number one player lost his sixth round match to the number two player. So the number one player, because of his strength of schedule, accumulated 70 points. That's Nathan Stapp. And Darren Kovacs beat him in the final round, but he didn't pick up enough points. He obviously, when he won that game, he picked up 15 points to get to 68. And then Greg Barsness, who just finished the tournament out on the West Coast that I was in, was third place for 66 points. Jonathan Kay, 61 points. Blake Ball, 55 points. Richard King, who just won that tournament out west, 53 points. And the first Midwesterner was Rich Domovic at 50 points in seventh place. Nathan Wegner, Brent Crawford, and Dan Sullivan rounded out the top 10. Let's see, and what else can I tell you? Oh, I was right. There were actually 41 people who did play at least one game. We had one fellow who dropped out after 2 games because he had a family crisis, and one guy whose work just landed on his head. He only played 1 game. And pretty much everybody else played 5 or 6 games. There were, a couple who only played 4, but most everybody played 5 or 6 games. In fact, in the final round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we had 35 people playing in the final round, which is pretty good. Out of 41 who played at least 1 game.
Yeah.
Now there were not a lot of Midwesterners up there. No, a lot of the names that I'd seen before. Are those new names to be the victors there?
Let's see. Well, Nathan is a Midwesterner. I'm not going to think about it, or at least I think he is. But Kovacs, Barsness, Kay, Ball, King are not. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about it is that some of my regulars don't play Basel.
Okay, that could explain it.
We lost them, 4 or 5 in that fashion.
Yeah.
Given that I think
that would include Spilkey and others at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember why Rich didn't participate.
Yeah, Rich just now is learning it, Basel, with Jeff.
Yeah, that's right.
And Rich is very particular.
He would have sat it out.
Before he does it.
Yeah, he wouldn't want to get into.
Never give him a lot of time to prepare to play a game, because he will know everything about any particular scenario.
Oh yes.
If you give a week or 2 to prepare, he will be the best prepared player in any particular scenario. It may not work for him. He may have had a wrong.
Thing. Right.
That's rare.
You may not move the way he thought you would, and your dice may be better. But boy, when I last time I played him face to face, sure enough, my Americans all moved right where he knew I would, and when they broke, they routed exactly where he was. A hidden Japanese squad in the right who popped out. Yeah. And I tried to do it to Jeff. I could never get it to work. So
that's because I'm such an excellent player.
Well, anything else, Dave, you want to add before we let you go here?
Plug for the ASL Open. I'd like to see it back up to 60 or more people.
Yeah.
If I get more than 64, I can add the 7th round. We used to have 7 rounds.
Yeah.
And that would make it a very, very interesting Open. And I think, quite frankly, online we may get there. It's hard to get people to travel for a long weekend.
Right.
But if it's online, I suspect we may get there this time.
Well, I hope that works out.
I appreciate the time that you allowed me to talk about the Open.
Yeah, sure.
And
Great.
soon
Always great
we'll
to
have
see
a
you.
face-to-face Open where you guys can broadcast from there.
Yeah.
Yes, would be super again. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, take care, Dave.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Dave. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
And that was David Goldman. Always good to hear from David.
Yeah, really better sign off, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that'll wrap it for this episode, Dave. Good to see you, and I'll see you next time on another exciting episode of the Two Half Squads. But remember
to roll low
and rally well, but not when you're playing us.
No, sir.
Let's tip our hats to the ladies.
You have hair problems when you. I don't have hair problems because I have no hair again. Said that last time. Bye-bye.
Very extinguished. Bye-bye.
Extinguished?
Sorry. Distinguished?